But first, let's have a little fun at the expense of former Victorian Premier Dan Andrews, who is finding out that he's not Teflon Dan in retirement. The poor guy can't even rub shoulders with the rich folk of the Mornington Peninsula on the region's world-class golf courses. Well, why, you might ask? Well, he's not wanted.
Are you still feeling the effects of the COVID lockdowns?
I think everyone is, to be honest. It was just a shambles, the whole thing. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't play golf with him, no.
So you wouldn't want to play golf with him?
I wouldn't want to play golf with him, no.
It was the only place in the world, really, wasn't it, where you weren't allowed to play golf. Everywhere else in the world you're allowed to play golf. They were right. The Mornington Peninsula were locked indoors. So, yeah, a lot of people still harbour feelings that that was the wrong thing. They don't want a situation at golf clubs where if you put your name down on the timesheet that nobody wants to play with you. That's the real issue, and that's the sort of thing that rips golf clubs apart.
I can give the President a message tonight. Most of the members of his golf club would not want Dan Andrews as a member. If Dan Andrews is allowed to join the Portsea Golf Club, I'll quit, I'll resign, I'll tear up my membership, and I'll go and play golf somewhere else.
Now, let me give you a little more history here. Dan Andrews, like many socialists before him, loves nothing more than to rub shoulders with the super wealthy. And he has more than one billionaire mate on the peninsula advocating for him. But even that may not be enough to get him across the line. You know, Australians are typically pretty laid back, live and let live types, but Dan Andrews is uniquely despised by many Victorians. It's a state he ruled with an iron fist for close to a decade, a state where he imposed 6 crippling lockdowns, and a state where he has left record debt, the biggest of any state by some margin. So it should come as no surprise that he's being effectively blackballed from the peninsula's premier golf courses, despite advocacy from his billionaire mates, including property mogul Max Beck. As reported in the Herald Sun this week, the prospect of Andrews becoming a member of Portsea Golf Club had some members seeing red. The reaction saw property tycoon Max Beck lash out at the members of Portsea Golf Club for being small-minded. He said, "It's just all about a bloke who wants to play golf and enjoy the rest of his life. It's ridiculous. He's worked his guts out for the state with his beliefs. I'm very disappointed, but we'll just see whether the committee takes into account his political beliefs or his personality and his golfing ability. They are the two things they should be assessing him on." And later in the week, the Portsea Golf Club president, Phil Kramer, stepped in to remind members that the Portsea Golf Club prides itself on inclusivity and diversity of membership, and in fact has a reputation of being a very welcoming club for all to enjoy playing golf and fellowship. The problem is, Phil, many of your members do not want to enjoy fellowship with Dan Andrews. And it's not just at Portsea Golf Club that Dan is persona non grata. As former golf pro Mark Allen explained this week, he's going to be met with resistance wherever he goes.
They have not forgiven him, and I can tell you this, on Friday night at the Sorrento Hotel, it was the talk of the region, and to the point where not only members from Portsea but members from other clubs were saying that if he's trying to join anywhere down here, they just will not let him join.
You reckon the whole peninsula will blackball?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, just on the Portsea Golf Club president, his statement shows he misunderstood the news reports. As Mick Warner wrote in the Herald Sun, Mr Kramer wrongly asserted that the Herald Sun had suggested that a formal application had been received by the club and Mr Andrews rejected from membership. The Herald Sun, in fact, reported that golfers had been made aware of Mr Beck's proposal for him to be considered for membership, which has occurred, and that there had been strong opposition from many of those members, which also occurred. Mr Andrews is deeply unpopular among some of the Portsea Golf Club members, particularly due to his bans on Victoria's golfing community during the pandemic and his decision to include the Mornington Peninsula in metropolitan restrictions, which were often much tougher than those imposed on regional Victoria. Yes, it may be a small thing, it may even be a little petty, But Dan's golfing predicament is a tiny dose of instant karma, and it's delicious.